Tumayo po tayong lahat at magbabasa po tayo ng ilang mga talata sa Book of Numbers. We will be ending the Book of Numbers. Last time we studied the census. We studied some things regarding the last messages of Moses to them. Ano po? And then we ended on chapter 30 about vows, diba? If somebody vow a vow, he or she shall fulfill it unto the Lord. Unless the person who vowed is a wife and her husband will not allow her to do the vow, the Bible tells us she will be forgiven. Or a daughter that would vow a vow and her father will not agree to it, she can cancel her vow and she will be forgiven because of the authority of the father. And a while ago, because of the authority of the husband. But if the husband or the father will agree unto the vow, then the lady should fulfill her vow unto the Lord. Okay? Now, let's go on chapter 31. We will be reading just some few verses as our introductory verse, and then we will pray and continue on reading the last chapters of the book of Numbers. Okay po ba? Okay, so let us read chapter 31, the destruction of the Midianites. Ayan, basahin po natin. Ready, read. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Avenge the children of Israel of the Midianites, afterward shalt thou be gathered unto thy people. And Moses spake unto the people, saying, Arm some of yourselves unto the war. Let them go against the Midianites and avenge the Lord of Midian. Of every tribe 1,000 throughout all the tribes of Israel shall ye send to the war. So there were delivered out of the thousands of Israel 1,000 of every tribe, 12,000 armed for war. And Moses sent them to the war, 1,000 of every tribe, them and Phinehas the son of Eleazar the priest to the war, with the holy instruments and the trumpets to blow in his hand. And they warred against Midianites, as the Lord commanded Moses, and they slew all the males. And they slew the kings of Midian, beside the rest of them that were slain, namely Evi and Rechem and Zur and Hur and Reba, 5 kings of Midian. Balaam also the son of Beor, they slew with the sword. So, Midian is a land, is an old name for the country Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia. Yun po yung Midian. Okay, ho? And the Midianites are the people who live there. It could be some are Moabites. You see, the land is Midian. And do we still have the map, Brother Heb? Do we still have the map there? And so we can just look on it. Dito yung aking magic wand. Let us see the map. Ayan. This is the land of Midian. Ayan. Okay, ito. Nakita niyo po. Up to here. So this is Midian. This is Saudi Arabia right now. Ano? So these people are enemies of Israel, and some of them are one of them is one of their citizens is Balaam, which we know that last time we've studied, the one who was to curse the people of Israel, that but was not able because God did not allow it so. Sama ko kayo mga kapatid? So, ang inutos po ng Panginoon ay papatayin silang lahat. Nakakalungkot nga, as I've shared to you, as I've studied these verses, we find even some of the young kids were commanded by the Lord to be destroyed. Of course, we don't vouch with liberals who think that the Bible isn't fair and the God of the Bible is not just by allowing the kids to be punished. But knowing the history and the civilization before, makikita po natin na sobrang sama po ng sibilisasyon ng araw. The civilizations during this time around these places, as I've shared to you last time, God wanted them to be wiped out in His wisdom. Okay? Alam niyo ho ang nangyayari? Doon din po lalabas yung sovereignty of God. Because as we read the passages, you can find that even the young ones were commanded by the Lord to be destroyed, except from the young ladies. Okay po? As captives of Israel. So, we can find it here that God, do not interpret God just with one verse or chapter. You interpret Him according to the context of the whole Bible. The God that we know is a God of love and yet a God of justice. A God of perfection and a God of perfect wisdom. And so by His all-knowing mind, including His foreknowledge, He knows what will happen in the future. He commanded Israel to punish such people. And of course, would it be rational? Yes. Knowing the ways of war in these times, it was reasonable unto Israel to do it. Okay po? So, pinarupasahan po sila ng Panginoon, kasama na po ng ibang mga tao, kasama po ni Balaam. Balaam was slew with the sword. So, Balaam died in Numbers chapter 31. Okay po? And so the Bible tells us that they took captives these women, and then after that, on verses 25 up to the last verse of chapter 31, you find that they divided the spoil. Okay po? May spoils of war, and of course, we can also find that some of the animals were sacrificed unto the Lord. Sabi po sa verse 37, ready? Read. And the Lord's tribute of the sheep was 603 score and 15. So it also some of these spoils of war were offered unto the Lord. And then of course the gold and the silver were used as well. Look at chapter of verse 51. Look at verse 51. And Moses and Eleazar the priest took the gold of them, even all wrought jewels, and all the gold of the offering that they offered up to the Lord of the captains of thousands and of the captains of hundreds was 16,750 shekel. According to estimation, it is amounting to $32 million. Wow. Of course, they are a whole nation. Israelite is a whole nation. Okay? And Moses and Eleazar the priest took the gold of the captains of thousands and of hundreds and brought it unto the tabernacle of the congregation for a memorial for the children of Israel before the Lord. So chapter 31 is about war preparation before going up to the promised land. Ano ho? Tinanggal po muna nila yung magiging balakid. Okay? And then on chapter 32, you can find the division of the land. Chapter 32 is about the order of God through Moses, then later will be executed by Joshua, is the division of the land. Now the children of Reuben, Numbers chapter 32, now the children of Reuben and the children of Gad had a very great multitude of cattle. And when they saw the land of Jazer and the land of Gilead, that behold, the place was a place for cattle. The children of Gad and the children of Reuben came and spake unto Moses and to Eleazar the priest and unto the princes of the congregation, saying, Ataroth and Dibon and Jazer and Nimrah and Heshbon and Elealeh and Shebam and Nebo and Beon. Verse number 4, even the country which the Lord smote before the congregation of Israel is a land for cattle. It's a place good for taking care of the flock, taking care of the cows, of the cattle, and thy servants have cattle. That means among the tribes, they are the ones who have more cows. If you would remember, one of the kings that were destroyed by Israel before they enter in through the leadership of Moses is king of Bashan. And as we've studied last time, Bashan is a place where you find goodly cows. Kaya in the Bible, you find these cows of Bashan. These are fat cows na inaalagaan po doon sa side na ito. If you would look at the map, ito po, look at this. Ito yung baba mo pa, mamaangat mo pa doon ba rin? Sige pa, todo mo pa. Ayan. Ito yung Salt Sea, Dead Sea. If you could go up right there, is the Jordan River. The Jordan River is up on the north of the Red Sea. Now, we find that they supposed to enter here, the 12 spies entered here, but the Bible tells us they were not allowed by the Lord. Di ba naalala niyo po? Some of them even tried to go up and was killed. Okay, kasi puno ng kalaban yan. So what they did is they went backward and they went through the shores of Edom. Ayan. Dito po sila pumunta sa daan na ito, paakyat, pamoa, paakyat na paganon. Okay, now, actually that's also the half of the promised land. And Moses went there. Kaya lang, hindi siya nakakross sa Jordan River si Moses. Hanggang dito lang siya sa plains of Moab, natanaw na naman niya yung promised land. So, ang makikita po natin dito, simula po dito sa south na ito ng promised land, going up, from here, Dibon, going up, is one side. There are two sides divided by the Jordan River. Okay po. Up the Jordan River is the Sea of Galilee. Siguro makikita niyo sa Bible ninyo. So, Dead Sea, Jordan River, Sea of Galilee. Kaya divided po yan. Okay po? Now, on the right side of the map, Pastor, bakit si Reuben lang at saka si Gad ang laki-laki ng kalahati? Kasi po, not all places there are livable. This is the mountainous sides of Israel. Even until today, you can find a map. Nakakita na kayo ng map na, hindi ko alam kasi ang tawag doon na may mga umbok-umbok. Doon yung makikita yung mountains. Okay? So these are mountainous places of Israel, of Canaan. And there are such places that are good for taking care of the cattle. Okay? Kaya Reuben and Gad requested Moses if they can have the land there. On chapter 32, Moses replied to them. Ang sabi ni Moses sa kanila, bakit kayo magpapasaway? Ba't hindi kayo sasama? Bakit gusto niyo na mag-settle? Alam niyo ba na pinarusahan ng Panginoon yung mga nagpasaway last time? And they explained to Moses, no, sir. We will leave our cattle here, but we, as our men, will go forward with you across Jordan to fight the battles. Okay? So, sabi ni Moses, ganun ba? Akala kasi ni Moises, ililigtas na nila yung sarili nila sa gera. Of course, as we know, I hope you know it, that after they entered the promised land, it's not immediately a land flowing up. It's not immediately milk and honey. Yeah, indeed, it was a land flowing with milk and honey, but they have a task to do. And their task is to what? Their task is to destroy these wicked people that already settled in those places. Brother Jandy, can you sit down here? Hindi ka makalay dyan. May upo pala dyan. Kala ko, nakatayo ka lang dyan eh. Okay? So doon po natin makikita na sumama rin po. So, Moses decided by the Lord in the division of the land that the three tribes that would live on this side of the map are Reuben, Gad, and the half tribe of Manasseh. Okay? The half tribe of Manasseh. Hati po, So, doon po sila sa kabilang side na iyon. Pero yung mga lalaki po nila, nagsama, they went forward with Joshua doon sa Jordan River to fight the war. Okay, tapos balik na lang sila pagkatapos ng gera. Okay po? So, on chapter 32, 33 is the summary of the wanderings. Chapter 33 is a summary of wanderings. Let us just repeat, let us just read this, and so we can be reminded of the things that, or the places that they went through during the journey of 40 years. 40 years of wandering. Sige ho. Chapter 33. Ready? Are you there? Let us read. These are the journeys of the children of Israel, which went forth out of the land of Egypt with their armies under the hand of Moses and Aaron. And Moses wrote their goings out according to their journeys by the commandment of the Lord, and these are their journeys according to their goings out. And they departed from Ramses in the first month, on the 15th day of the first month, on the morrow after the Passover. And the children of Israel went out with an high hand in the sight of all the Egyptians. For the Egyptians, look at this, for the Egyptians buried all their firstborn, which the Lord had smitten among them, upon their gods. Also the Lord executed judgment. And the children of Israel removed from Ramses and pitched in Sukkah. So you find them going out while the Egyptian people are burying their firstborns. Okay, di ba pinatay ng Diyos yung firstborn nila? And so they went out during that time. And then they traveled to Sukkah. You remember our lesson from Sukkah to Sinai. There are many things that transpired there, and we can go to the map. And verse number 7, and they removed from Etham and turned again unto Pi-Hiroth, which is before Baal-Zephon, and they pitched before Migdol. Okay, Migdol. And then next is on verse 8. Ayan po yung kinikwento niya doon sa chapter na binabasa po natin. Sukkot, then Etham, then Baal-Zephon, and then they crossed there. At pagkatapos, meron parang maliit na sea dyan na part nitong Red Sea na ito. Ayan. Kaya nga yung mapa medyo magugulo. Of course, we're not sure of the exact places. Kaya every journey guides our theories, mga teorya. Okay ho? Kaya ho ganyan, nag-iiba-iba. Pero somewhere right there, they crossed the Red Sea. Hindi ko alam kung saan banda dyan. But because this is the Red Sea. Yan, okay. Ito po yung, yan po, nakita niyo yung Red Sea? Dalawa siyang side. Ayun, pagano. Okay. Paganyan ang Red Sea. There is another theory that this is the Red Sea where they cross. Kasi dito may natagpo ang mga chariots sa ilalim ng dagat. Pwede rin naman na naagos na doon. We really do not know. But yet, this big one is a large water, and this is the Red Sea. Okay, huh? So, makikita po natin na yung chapter 33 is about that journey of the book of Numbers. Okay? So, the Bible tells us they removed from Etham, and then verse number 8, and they departed from before Pi-Hiroth and passed through the midst of the sea to the wilderness, and went 3 days' journey in the wilderness of Etham, and pitched in Marah. What happened to Marah? What happened there? When they went there, they cannot drink of the water because it is bitter. Ayan. And so God commanded Moses using the rod and made that water become sweet to drink. Ayan. So yun po yung waters of Marah. And then after that, makatapos po sa Marah, saan na tayo napunta? Verse number 9, and they removed from Marah and came to Elim, and in Elim were 12 fountains of water, and 70 palm trees, and they pitched there. Oh, may tubig naman sa next. Verse 10, and they removed from Elim and encamped by the Red Sea. And they removed from the Red Sea and encamped in the wilderness of Sin. And they took their journeys out of the wilderness of Sin and encamped in Dophkah. And they departed from Dophkah and encamped to Alush. And they removed from Alush and encamped at Rephidim, where was no water for the people to drink. So meron na naman dyan, ano? And they departed from Rephidim and pitched in the wilderness of Sinai. And in there you find Moses met by Jethro, okay ho, yung kanyang father-in-law. At pagdating po sa verse 16, let us read, and they removed from the desert of Sinai and pitched at Kibroth Hattaavah, And they departed from Kibroth Hattava and encamped at Hazeroth. Okay po? And then on verse 18, and they departed from Hazeroth and pitched in Ribmah. So, to make the long story short, they journeyed until they reached Kadesh. Okay po? And then what happened to Kadesh? Murmurings. They murmured and murmured again. And ano yung tatlong gusto nilang gawin? Ano nga yung problema ng murmurings na yun? Naalala niyo yung tatlo? What are the three problems of these murmuring people? Number one is uncontentment. They are not contented with what God is providing for them. God was providing manna to be eaten, a miracle bread from heaven, and yet they were not contented about it. Another thing, ungodly. They are ungodly. Why? What did they say? How can we say that these murmuring people are ungodly people? What were the words that came out from their mouth to Moses? Bakit sila naging ungodly? How can we know that these people were ungodly upon their murmurings? Ano yung exact na sinabi nila? They wanted to go back to Egypt. They are always comparing Egypt and wilderness. Of course, yung usapang tao, mas maganda nga naman sa Egypt. But they were slaves there. Okay? They were worshiping. They are not free in worshiping their true God. Okay mo? And that is just for a lifetime. Ano kaya nga sabi ng Bible? Moses chose rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasure of sin for a season. A lifetime is just a season. Okay ho? You will just enjoy it for a lifetime and you will suffer for eternity. And so, God gave them not just a freedom to worship Him, but also a land flowing with milk and honey. It just went long because of their murmurings, because of their disobedience. They were too ungodly. They wanted Egypt without God than having God through the wilderness. Okay ho? That's ungodliness. And God hated it. And last, ano pa? Uncontented, ungodly, and what's the last thing? Ano yung pinapakita ng kanilang murmurings? Unthankful. A people unthankful. Ano sabi ng Bible? In everything, give thanks, for this is the will of God. So these people were, can you imagine, a slave people given freedom by God from what? The most powerful nation on earth that time. Egypt was the strongest nation in that time, and they are the weakest people that time. They were slaves. Are you with me now? And then here comes God of heaven, giving them plagues upon plagues, Egypt, and freeing Israel from bondage, giving them food to eat and quails of meat for their meals, and then making miracles out of bitter waters and dry rock. And yet, they were not thankful. They were not even thanking God for all His goodness upon Israel. So God, with their murmurings, told them in Kadesh Barnea, you don't go to the promised land. Who? The older people. 21 upward in Kadesh Barnea were told by the Lord that they will die in the wilderness. So instead of an 11-day journey from Kadesh Barnea to the promised land, God wanted them to go around Edom and Moab for a 38 years more in the wilderness. Are you with me? Hello? And they even tried after that. They even tried. Some people say, okay, Moses, we will not be afraid of the people up there. We will not murmur anymore. We will go up. We will go up. What happened? They died. They died. They were destroyed by the men of the mountains. I think the Amorites, okay, destroyed them, and they were defeated. And so, the majority of the people decided to obey the Lord and just go around Edom and Moab and going to the promised land. And all of the people from 21 upward already died, except the 2 spies that were sent out before it happened. Who are these men? Caleb and Joshua. They were the only people that were allowed to enter into the promised land. So, ayan. So, from Kadesh to Moab, makikita rin po natin yung journey. Namatay si Aaron sa Mount Hor. Namatay din si Miriam as well. At makikita rin natin na nagkasala din si Moses dahil po doon sa waters of Meribah. God wanted him to talk to the rock, but what he did is he smote the rock out of anger. God was displeased in what Moses did, and also decided that Moses will not enter into the promised land as well. Okay, huh? Moses will not enter into the promised land as well. Aaron died there, and then Moses will die soon at the last part of Deuteronomy 5. Okay? So, next is chapter 33, verse 50. Ready, read. And the Lord spake unto Moses in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye are passed over Jordan in the land of Canaan, then ye shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land from before you, and destroy all their pictures, and destroy all their molten images, and quite pluck down all their high places, and ye shall possess the inhabitants of the land, and dwell therein. For I have given you the land to possess it. And ye shall divide the land by lot for an inheritance among your families. And to the more ye shall give the more inheritance, and to the fewer ye shall give the less inheritance. Every man's inheritance shall be in the place where his lot falleth. According to the tribes of your fathers ye shall inherit. But if ye will not drive, are you there? Verse 55 po. But if ye will not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, then it shall come to pass that those which ye let remain of them shall be pricks in your eyes, and thorns in your sides, and shall vex you in the land wherein ye dwell. It was a warning years before they entered in, that Moses said, do not ever forget, you've got to wipe them out away. Let us go back to Deuteronomy 9:5, so we can know always the reason why. Why is God so harsh in taking away these people who are already living there? Don't they have the right to stay there? For they were there before the Israelites. But look at Deuteronomy chapter 9, verse 5. Again, as we read. Ready? Say amen. Amen. Ready, read. Not for thy righteousness, or for the uprightness of thine heart, dost thou go to possess their land. But for the wickedness of these nations, the Lord thy God doth drive them out from before thee, and that he may perform the word which the Lord sware unto thy fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It is not because they are good people, but it is because God owns the land. Nobody owns the land except God. And God, because of their wickedness, God decided for them to go away from that land and put His own people that believe in Him to be settled there and be called Israel. Okay mo? So yun po ang dahilan. Pasaway kasi yung mga tao doon, kaya pinarusahan ng Panginoon. Okay mo? Sobrang pasaway. Kaya sabi, aalisin nyo. Huwag kayong makikipag-deal. Ang sabi ni Lord kay Moses, you have to tell them, you don't ever compromise. Once I say, you wipe them out. Why? They will vex you. Papahirapan kayo niyang mga yan. And you know, there are many offers. If you would study the book of Joshua and Judges, you can find these foreign people, these heathen nations, trying to negotiate with the Israelites. Okay, we will give our beautiful daughters to your sons, and we will just live with you. we will be your servants. And it was a good offer. Instead of you governing such cities before, you will be our servants and we will be the governors of this land. And some of the Israelites compromised. But instead of these people becoming servants, it happened on the other. It was not the thing that happened. What happened is the Israelites became their slaves. Okay, yun yung makikita natin sa Book of Numbers. Book of Judges. In the Book of Judges, you can find all the consequences of the disobedience of Israel by the commandment of God to Moses and Joshua since Numbers chapter 33. Ang sabi ng Panginoon, you shall dispossess the inhabitants of the land and dwell therein. Verse number 54, let us read it again. Verse number 55, let us read it again, the warning. Are you there? But if ye will not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, Numbers chapter 34, verse 55. The Bible tells us, but if ye will not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, then it shall come to pass that those which ye let remain of them shall be pricks in your eyes and thorns in your sides, and look at that, and shall vex you in the land wherein ye dwell. So, yun nga mangyayari later. Now, on chapter 34, andito na po yung paghahati-hati ng lupain. Okay po? At hindi na po natin ganong pag-aaralan kasi sa Joshua naman po makikita natin yan. Sino yung napunta sa north, sa south, sa east, sa west, sa anong Judah, sa anong Benjamin titira. Andiyan po sila south, west, north, and east. And then, Pastor, when it will happen? It will happen at the last part of the book of Joshua. After they conquered the majority of the Canaanite lands, makikita po natin that Joshua divided the lands for them. Okay, nagkaroon na po ng hatian, tapos na po yung gera eh. Okay? So, chapter 35 na po tayo. Chapter 35. So, knowing that these 12 tribes, Levites are not included. Wala akong pamanang lupa, that means an area, big area left for the Levites. What was the plan of God? You can find it here on chapter 35. Look at that, chapter 35. Are you there? Ready, read. And the Lord spake unto Moses in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho, saying, command the children of Israel that they give unto the Levites of the inheritance of their possession cities to dwell in. And ye shall give also to the Levites suburbs for the cities round about them. And the cities shall they have to dwell in, and the suburbs of them shall be for their cattle and for their goods and for all their beasts. And the suburbs of the cities which ye shall give unto the Levites shall reach from the wall of the city and outward 1,000 cubits round about. And ye shall measure from without the city on the east side 2,000 cubits, and on the south side 2,000 cubits, and on the west side 2,000 cubits, and on the north side 2,000 cubits. And the city shall be in the midst of this, this shall be to them the suburbs of the cities. That pag sabi suburbs, pasture lands. Okay po? And among the cities which ye shall give unto the Levites, there shall be 6 cities for refuge, which ye shall appoint for the manslayer, that he may flee thither, and to them ye shall add 42 cities. So, Moses told Joshua, God told Moses, when you divide the land, you will scatter the Levites throughout the land. And you will choose land for pasture for the Levites, so that they can take care of their flocks. They don't own a territory, they would just stay within the territories of their brethren. Okay, ho? You have to choose 42 cities for them to live. So, kinalat sila ng Panginoon. So, from every tribe, you can find a land separated for the Levites. Okay, ho? For their inheritance. And the next is, you have to choose 6 cities, which also a place of the Levites. These cities, Levites lang ang titira doon. Are you with me now? And they were called the cities of what? Refuge. Cities of refuge. Let us read that again. Cities of refuge. Verse number 6. Again, let us read. And among the cities which ye shall give unto the Levites, there shall be 6 cities for refuge. Pastor, what is a city of refuge? Verse chapter 35. Chapter 35. Nakita nyo, no Avengers allowed. Okay. Ano ibig sabihin niya? What is a city of refuge? Brother Matthew, you stay here. Kunwari ikaw yung priest. Okay? This is the example of a city of refuge. This is a city of refuge. This is the gate. Okay? This is the gate. This is the city of refuge. And then, if Brother Elijah, dito ka. If Brother Elijah from a tribe, let's say, of Judah, from a tribe of Judah, Brother Elijah has killed RJ. Pinatay niya si RJ. Okay ho? Siyempre, ang gagawin ng kamag-anak ni RJ na si Joel, he will run after this guy to kill him. Okay ho? Ang tawag po sa kanya, kay Joel, Avenger of Blood. Okay ho? Alam naman natin yan sa ancient tradition pa, meron laging ganyan, no? Babawi. Okay ho? So, dahil sa galing, there is an Avenger of Blood. So what will Elijah do is he will run to the place called a city of refuge, and he will tell to the doorkeeper, to the gatekeeper, I have killed somebody, and I am innocent. It just so happened that naglalaro ako, natamaan yung ulo niya, patay. Okay ho? So, papasok siya dito, at doon, he will be given due process. Okay ho? Kasi, the manslayer is all but anger. He just want to avenge the blood, regardless of what happened. Okay ho? There is no due process with the madman who wants to kill him. So, for him to have a due process, he would go to a city of refuge for him to be tried. Are you with me now? Hello? Okay ho? Now, if this guy is really guilty of murder, the same thing, he will die. He should die here. He will be judged, and if he will be found guilty, he will also die here. Okay ho? But the Avenger of Blood cannot take his life away. But if he is innocent, it was not murder. It might be homicide or what you can call is accident. Okay ho? Hindi niya talaga gustong patayin si Adel. There was no plan at all. It was not plotted. All the rules are here in this chapter. So, he will be investigated in the city of refuge, and once found not guilty, absuelto po si Elijah. Are you with me now? Okay ho? Ma-absuelto po siya, but he cannot return until the high priest here died. So, he cannot go back. He will live here, he will settle here until the next priest will take place. Okay? So, yun po ang mangyayari doon. Okay? Kaya, hindi siya pwedeng aalis dito saan? Sa city of refuge. Ilan ang cities of refuge? 6. Okay. So, ayan po yung mga rules sa chapter 35. Hindi na po natin babasahin kasi marireview natin yan sa book of Joshua. Okay, ho? But ngayon, meron tayong introduction about the cities of refuge. And then on chapter 36, ito na, yung naalala niyo yung mga anak ni Zelophehad, yung walang mga asawa. Okay, ho? Verse number 1. Chapter 36, verse number 1. Are you ready? And the chief fathers of the families of the children of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, of the families of the sons of Joseph, came near, and spake before Moses, and before the princes, the chief fathers of the children of Israel. And they said, The Lord commanded my Lord to give the land for an inheritance by lot to the children of Israel. And my Lord was commanded by the Lord to give the inheritance of Zelophehad, our brother, to his daughters. And if they be married, and
paano if they get married to any of the sons of the other tribes, siyempre lalaki yung mapapangasawa nila. Sabi niya gano'n. Di ba pupunta yung mana doon sa lahi ng another tribe? So, ano bang gagawin namin, Moses? So, to make the long story short, this is the verdict, this is the decision of the Lord. Okay, you can marry, but you can only marry from your own family line, from the tribe of Manasseh. Doon lang kayo, sa tribe of Manasseh lang kayo maghahanap ng inyong mapapang-asawa. And so did the daughters of Zelophehad. Yun ang kanilang ginawa para hindi mapunta ang iba. And the conclusion of this chapter is on verse 12. And they were married into the families of the sons of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, and their inheritance remained in the tribe of the family of their father. These are the commandments and the judgments which the Lord commanded by the hand of Moses unto the children of Israel in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho.